This is a Frozone track.
Ooh, that beat is cold. On one, yeah. Have fun, yeah. Don't think about how you feel alone. I'm numb, yeah. I'm done, yeah. But with my father, let me come back home. On one, yeah. Have fun, yeah. Don't think about how you feel alone. Yeah. I'm numb, yeah. I'm done, yeah. But with my father, let me come back home. Crazy, yeah, I know I'm the daughter of the king. In this life, everything ain't what it seems. God deliver me from the pole selling packs. The old lifestyle, why would I ever go back? I was in the field, I was pastoring this flock. Who knew the pressure would make me wanna stop? Those who were supposed to be a help for me turned on me and made a hell for me. How I make my way back to the club scene. Used to get water, now more than me a drink. My life took a turn, friends gone in a blink. Were they ever friends that make you wanna think? I was on the run, just trying to have fun, doing anything that would make me feel numb. The mess all around me start to seem dumb. A child of the king, look what I become. On one, yeah, have fun, yeah. Don't think about how you feel alone. I'm numb, yeah. I'm done, yeah. But with my father, let me come back home. On one, yeah. Have fun, yeah. Don't think about how you feel alone. Yeah. I'm numb, yeah. I'm done, yeah. But with my father, let me come back home.
All right. So that song is called Cocaine. And in that song, I want to point out that this EP is kind of going in order of your life.
Yes.
So we've come from a song previous to this from a pastor's perspective. And now we're speaking on a state of, how can we put this? It's almost like the prodigal son.
It is the prodigal son.
Okay, so let's talk about how you
But
got...
it's the prodigal daughter.
The prodigal daughter. So let's talk about how you got from being a pastor, and we see some of the things you were facing from the last song, now to this point of being the prodigal daughter. How did you get there?
It started with a lot of personal issues. It had a lot to do with a lot of issues that I seen that was going on in the church. Not necessarily in my ministry, but other ministries that I was connected to, and the people that I was fellowshipping with, and it was just a lot. And so my cousin passed away, and when my cousin passed away, it felt like something died in me. I actually was getting ready to commit suicide after he passed away, being a pastor, in my pastoral role, okay? Because I've dealt with death, but I've never held nobody's hand until they took their last breaths. So that, it killed something on the inside of me, and so that kind of started a downward spiral. I had some marital issues that was going on, and with that, it just escalated it. With me dealing with what I was personally dealing with, it just escalated everything to a whole nother level until it became a separation in my marriage. And so through the separation in my marriage, I just felt lost. I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to do. And so I kind of shut everything down ministry-wise. I knew that I needed help. And so when I shut everything down, I went back to counseling. I went back to a psychiatrist because I felt like I wanted to die. Because after my cousin died, it was a death after death after death after death after another death. All the way up until the point now where I've lost a total of 20 people. So I've dealt with a lot of death and a lot of grief. And still it's dealing with. But I just found better ways to deal with it. But when we did cocaine, it took me back to the point of when I decided that, you know what, I just want to feel numb. That's what the hook says. On one, yeah. Have fun, yeah. Don't think about how you feel alone, because I felt alone. I went from having all these people around me and all these people that say they love me to now being isolated by myself and alone. You understand what I'm saying? Even in the midst of separation, I left South Carolina. When I came back to South Carolina, there was even times where I slept in my car. You understand what I'm saying? Because of pride. I didn't want everybody to know what was going on with me. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, that was a real rough patch in my life. And so I went from, like the song say, I went from drinking water. Now I'm watering me a drink. I found my way back into the club. Wasn't looking for nobody, wasn't bothering nobody. But I found my way back in the club because music has always been a passion for me, even before I started doing music. Music, whether people understand it, even when you go through the mental hospital, they have a group called music therapy because music calms you. And so if you think about the Bible, what happened in the Bible, music had to be played for Saul to calm those spirits that was even in Saul. David had to play to control those spirits that was in Saul. Music has always been very important in any religion. Because if you think about every religion, they deal with music. But for me, it took me back to the club. I was sitting at the club, I'd be sitting at the bar, and it started with me just drinking water, drinking sodas. You know, understand? And then things got worse in my life, and then all of a sudden, I'm ordering drinks again, taking shots again. You understand what I'm saying? So, regardless, like I said, yes, I became the prodigal daughter. But the thing is about this EP, I let people see my life, but I also let them see that I had enough sense to go back to God to get it right.
And I think that is such a powerful message, because coming from someone who has been a pastor and going through the same thing.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years, not 1 year, not 2 years, not no brand new pastor, not somebody just started in the game, not somebody just wearing the title pastor because I'm doing music, but actually pastoring God's people for 10 years, actually traveling across the United States, preaching, doing TV interviews, radio interviews, pastoring for real.
Yes. And now that someone who's listening to this music sees that, okay, if you've been through this and you've dealt with these things, and you even got to the point to where you were getting the water, but now you're getting the drink. You got to the point to where you back in the club.
Mm-hmm.
Now it makes me feel like if I get back to that point, I don't have to stay there.
You don't have to stay there.
Because now I see that you are doing better and you've been through that. So
Absolutely.
that's very powerful and very encouraging. I love the openness in this project. I love how you let your life be a story that can help others. I love that.
Absolutely. And truth be told, you know, there are some pastors right now that still drink, but they still get in God's pulpit and preach to his people. They still smoking weed, and they still preaching to God's people. But you would never know it. You would never know they struggle because they hide their testimony. They don't want nobody to know what they're going through. You understand what I'm saying? But how can people get delivered from something if you never share that they can be delivered from it?
Right. And I know you even referenced it before, but the word says the overcomers will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony. So it's not only, to me, it's not optional. Mm-hmm. And we treat it like it's optional to share what we've been through. But I feel it's more than an option, it's an obligation.
Now watch this. Somebody gonna have an issue with our interview. They gonna feel like, oh, how she was a pastor and she talking about she went back to the club. How she talking about she a pastor and she was drinking again. You understand what I'm saying? But watch this. How can you get a testimony without a test? Somebody got to go through it. Why not you? Everybody want to see miracles in the church. People want to see people get healed. Somebody got to get sick. Do we think about stuff like that? You want to see the addict get delivered off of drugs. Somebody got to be that drug addict. You understand what I'm saying? Why not you? You understand what I'm saying? We can't pick sometimes and choose some of the stuff that we go through. some of the stuff we do cause on ourselves. Some of the testimonies that we have is because we caused this stuff on ourselves. But some stuff we didn't choose to go through this stuff. It's just like Job. God chose us. Have you tried my servant Job? You understand what I'm saying? Because he knows he can trust us.
Yeah, and I think even we had a conversation before about even be careful what you pray about.
Yes.
Be careful when you praying, God, use me. God, I'm a vessel. I want you to use me, use my life. Because, not saying that that's a bad thing, but we need to be aware of what that means.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We can pray to God and say, God, give me more patience. And guess what God gonna do? He gonna put you in situations that's gonna try your patience. He gonna put you in situations the way you won't want to cuss somebody out and you gonna want to lay hands on somebody. But guess what? You prayed for God to increase your patience. He answered your prayer.
Right. So that's beautiful. But I love this particular song because once again, if we're listening to it in order, this is putting everything out there, no holds bar, honestly. And it's giving you the order of, yes, I was a pastor before this happened. And now I'm showing you my situation. But it brings it all back into perspective of being the story of the prodigal daughter, because what? You begin to realize, look at my life. Look at this mess I'm in. Just like the prodigal son started to look around and like, why am I in this pig slop about to eat this pig slop?
Absolutely.
And so many of us find ourselves in the pig slop. But a lot of us have not heard of how to get out.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the second verse, we referenced that, talked about, I won't go back to the pig pen. I talked about how I won't be a slave to religion and sin. Because some people are a slave to religion. Come on, somebody. And like I said, it's going back to being a slave to tradition and not necessarily God's will and God's way. But I refuse to go back to that stuff again. I'm still a pastor. I'm still preaching God's word. But I just refuse to do it man's way. I decided I'm going to do everything God's way now.
Amen to that. So let's keep it moving. We got one more song, so let's get into that one.